Hey guys, so this week I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my process for goal setting, visioning, and really creating a strong and bold plan for the next year. So I usually start this process in kind of end of November. So I'm starting it a little bit early this year because I really want to get a head start on planning for an awesome year next year. Super excited about it. This year in 2020, right, was a year of disruption and chaos and upheaval with the pandemic, with all the market swings, with the election now today. By the way, if you haven't voted, get out and vote. It's important to have a voice in this conversation, right? And it was just a very bizarre year, one unlike we've never seen before. But what it offered to the people that were diligent and were opportunists was a chance to pivot, was a chance to think differently, to change our perspective, our worldview, our framework of thought and achievement, and lay the groundwork, make the investments in ourselves, in the resources we need to surround ourselves with, and to reset and recalibrate our goals and our vision for next year and the future, this new decade. So when I started my goal process and goal setting for this year, last year in November of 2019, who could have predicted what would have happened in 2020, right? So this year was definitely not the way that we wanted to start our decade, but nonetheless, we have to adapt, right? We don't have control over a lot of things in the world and around us, but we do have an ability to adapt, react, and pivot and change our approach. So here's a little bit of kind of a process overview that I have found great value in that's really served me well to achieve great things in my businesses, in my career, and in my life. And maybe you can get some value from them. Maybe you can try them and see if they will help inspire, organize, and really set a bold plan in motion for your best year yet next year. So what I do is I typically create space and time in my schedule in life, meaning I get out of my ordinary day-to-day. I go on a personal retreat. I usually go out of state or up to the mountains or somewhere quiet for usually a couple of days. This year, because it's starting early, I'm probably going to do a few of these. So I started one overnight, went over to Vermont, it's just an hour drive away from me. It's super close. It allows me to kind of just get more focused, be away from home and work and office and all that. And what I do is I start to lay out, broadly speaking, a vision. What do I want the next 12 months to look like? What are the key big goals, right? Those big, scary goals I want to achieve in my various businesses. 5 different businesses now I've founded and have grown to multiple 7 figures. Also, what do I want to achieve personally, meaning in my relationships with friends and family? How do I want to show up? Where am I going to create space and impact and serve those people that I love the most in life? Next, I look at personally, like my hobbies, my travel, personal development goals, and enrichment. So for instance, what do I want to be reading and consuming and information-wise? How many books a month? I read 3 books a month this year, and I want to push that to 4 books a month next year. Always be consuming content, information. Always be learning. Always be a student of the world in your craft, right? Then I look at where do I want to travel? What are the hobbies I want to continue to do or get back into from before? So this year I made a huge commitment, super excited to share that I've spent the time and the money and created the space now to get back to things I really love doing, which is being an avid outdoorsman. So by that, I mean hiking, backpacking, doing overnights. That means skiing, alpine touring in the backcountry, going all over to new places and exploring state and national parks. That means being out there, snowmobiling, camping, off the grid, and enjoying nature. I enjoy that because it's part, being really, really having to be really athletic and fit. It's part having to be kind of a survival, mode athlete. And it's part exploring new, beautiful terrain and landscapes and doing it in activities that I really enjoy doing. So I've created time for that. I've invested in more gear. I got a bunch of gear right here, actually. I would show you if I could move my camera easily. And I'm getting ready to do a 36-mile hike across the Great Range of the High Peak Mountains in the Adirondacks. Doing it this weekend. Over 15,000 feet of elevation gain, over 12 high peaks, and about 36-mile loop. Really, really ambitious, strenuous, one of the most rugged hikes in the East, and I'm super excited about it. So what are you going to be doing next year for that, for yourself, for your hobbies, for your personal enrichment, growth, and development? Next, I look at my health. I look at what are the habits and the routines and the investments that I want to make so I'm continually maintaining and sustaining a high level of energy. Right now, I come to you with a high level of energy. You're probably used to that, right? It's how I roll. It's my autopilot. It's kind of my basis and my default level of energy. But not everybody's like that. So sometimes we need to make sure that we're intentional and deliberate about cultivating a high level of energy, because high energy is correlated positively with high output, high performance, success, and achievement and fulfillment in this life. And I know that because of the work that I've done with it, the studies I've read, the clients that I've coached to it, and what I've embraced and created in my own life. Now, to step back for a second on the business career goals, this is important, right? Because we want to think big. I want to challenge and inspire you to think bigger than you normally do. I create some really audacious goals for the next year. I did for this year, and I achieved most of them. I'd say 70 to 75% of the goals I set out to do this year, I achieved. Now, that's good. I consider that success. Anything over like 60% I consider success for this reason. I'm setting really, really unusually and extraordinarily large goals at the beginning of the year. So they're not typical average goals. They're really big, meaning if I hit half of them or half of the metric, it's still really, really strong growth. So that's how I look at it. Doesn't mean that's how you have to look at it, but it's a good way of setting a framework for really, really big and bold achievement, right? So push the envelope on where you want to take the revenue of your company. How do you want to be more profitable? What new innovation are you going to invest in? How are you going to continue to innovate, right, in product and service? What are you going to do for customer delivery and really wowing your customers, right? So look at all these things, plan and think big, come up with a strategy and a resource list, what it's going to take, from financial resources and investment to the people and human capital and talent, to the space, to the creativity, to the different skills you might need to learn or bring onto your team in order to execute on these ideas and goals. So this, again, for me is a multi-day thing. So I just started, I wrote probably 15 pages out. I did my 2021 goals. I updated my 5-year goals then, so things I will have achieved by this time, 2025, right, in 5 years. Then I did my 10-year goals, what I will have achieved at the end of this coming decade when I'm in my mid-40s, which is crazy to say already. And that got me super excited because of the size and how audacious those goals and vision was for the next decade. Then I created a cool list, which I call the 101 Goals for Your Life, which is something you can create. I think I learned it from Jack Canfield, who's a great best-selling author. It's created a bunch of really, really helpful books, one of which is Success Principles. Love that book, highly recommend it. And in there, he has a running list of 101 goals he wants to achieve in his life, and they're big goals. For me, these are things like learning how to fly, which is overcoming my last major fear, which is heights, right? Getting my pilot's license, getting my helicopter license, and buying a helicopter and traveling the world in the area that way, which would be really cool, right? Another one could be, for instance, for me, is visiting all continents in the world. Another one is visiting at least 75% of the countries, which is about over 140 or 50 countries would be 75% of the total countries. That's big, right? That's bold. I have to visit at least 5 to 7 countries a year to even make that possible in my lifetime. So it's things like that, right? It's thinking creatively and getting excited about the future, about next year, about your life and what you're trying to live and achieve and create that lifestyle by design. So these are some ideas. Again, hopefully they inspire you to think differently about that, goal setting, visioning, creating a plan for next year to make it your best year yet. Remember, create space in your schedule. Ideally, get away from your day-to-day. Go on a trip or an overnight with you or your loved one. 1 to 2 nights is all you need. Really get creative. Write this stuff out. Create visuals. Get it from your head in a brain dump out onto paper. I use Google Docs because I keep it all really organized per year and per different documents. And it really, really is helpful to me. And it's helped me achieve some really great things in life. So hopefully this resonated in some way. It inspired you, get you thinking about goal setting, about visioning about next year and planning for that to make it your best year. If it did, let me know. I love to hear from you guys. As always, drop me a comment, a like, share this with somebody who could benefit too. And again, as always, to your success, your happiness, and your freedom. We'll talk to you next week.